The topic for today is beginners' indulgence into NFTs. And I wanted to explore what the future has in store for us through Web3. Our life is incomplete without the internet as we know it. Almost everything that we do, there is an element that comes from the internet. And because of that interface, that our life becomes easier, whether we are booking a cab or we are ordering groceries. So a little bit of history, how web has evolved over a period of time. In the early 90s, we called it Web 1, where mostly it was e-commerce and desktop browser access. There was no laptop, there was no mobile phone, of course. And then came Web 2, and Web 2 brought not just consuming the content, as in we were not just reading it, but we were also writing it and interacting with it. And now today's topic is Web 3. And in Web 3, a lot more can happen. And all of us have heard about this term called Bitcoin and Ethereum. So just know that the crypto world is something that can help us actually not just read, write, but also own a piece of it. So in simpler terms, in very simple terms, Web 1 is the past, where we saw static pages, where we could view information, no edit was possible, and it was completely centralized. If I had my web page, only I could publish there, and as a user, people could come and they could read, and the story ended there. But in early 2000s, Web 2 came along, which is the present. And Web 2 has evolved into a very dynamic interface. We can contribute with our content. All of us have become content creators thanks to Web 2. And interoperability between sites and applications has become possible. But even now, our database is managed by a centralized organization. And at their command, they can literally do whatever they want with our database and also with the content that we have. Just imagine that what happens to people who have huge YouTube channels and for some reason their channels get hacked or taken down by the platform itself. If that is the only source of revenue that a content creator has, we have given Google or YouTube the power to completely control the user. Yeah, so Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of these companies, they are in the Web 2 space. Now, Web 3 is decentralized and it's peer-to-peer. It allows user to fractionalize, reclaim ownership, and control their own data. And you can be a part of Web 3 by using your own wallet. So the future is going to be, you will have your cryptocurrency in your wallet. And with that wallet and that crypto, you will be able to take part in the new economy. Now, when I say the new economy, what is happening is in Web 2 era, we have to create username and password, and that data is kept by Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And then they decide, okay, this user has access, and now this user can do this much. For example, they have different rules for content creators in different parts of the world. Whereas for Web3, that's not the case. If you are interacting with a Web3 website, whether you are in India or you are in US, wherever you are, if you are adding value to the platform through your wallet, you will be treated equal. So that's the big change between Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. So Web 1 was read only, Web 2 was read and write, and Web 3 will be read, write, and own. Now, what's next? Now we know that, okay, fine, there is Web 3 where I can control whatever I have. What is the next step? The next step is true ownership. Now, as content creators, where are we struggling? That what is the real pain point that we have? The pain point is that almost all content creators, they are all part of an economy which are managed by the middlemen. And now these are people in the middle. They are the ones who take almost 80 to sometimes even 90% of the profit that a piece of content makes. And content creators like the director, actors, and all of the people involved in the project, they don't really have any ownership of the content that is being created. But with NFTs, for example, you create a film, and now this is a film which is now converted into a crypto. And now that crypto is being sold on a marketplace. You will be able to directly communicate with a peer on the other side of the world, and they will be able to take ownership of the content and give you the money for it. And it also, you can define how much of it will be sold to them. So we'll cover that. But the first key point that we need to remember is that true ownership is possible thanks to Web3. And how that is possible, we'll explore that in a moment. There is no single point of failure. Now, whenever we are talking about Web3, because it is decentralized, right now, all Web2 websites or organizations are top down. They are centralized. So if it is top down, then one point of failure can lead to failure of the entire platform, the entire project, or the entire setup. But since now the new setup is decentralized, there is no single point of failure. Even if one node is down for some reason, the other nodes can compensate for it and the work can keep happening. Now, another thing is that there is interconnectivity for better experience. Now, when I say interconnectivity for better experience, what I mean is you are connected with people across the world, across geographies and jurisdictions, which is not possible in the case of Web2. For example, let's look at a YouTube creator. A YouTube creator in the US is given a different remuneration versus a YouTube creator in India, right? That is one example. Another example is that if you have to transact with someone else using the fiat currencies or the current monetary system, where you have to go through middlemen, these middlemen are banks, these middlemen could be producers, you have to pay them. And because you have to pay them, there is a barrier in between. Of course, you cannot connect with like-minded people like the way you can in Web3. The last important point is that because there is improved targeting, which means that I want to interact with Sonia and she is there on a Web3 platform and we can directly connect with each other, we can target people much better. And with time, it will only get better because artificial intelligence will come into the picture, and that will enable us to reach out to those who we want to reach in a very pinpointed manner. Now, how is all this changing? So I shared things like there will be no middlemen, there is better interconnectivity, and you can transact with just about anyone, anywhere in the world. Now, it is changing through something called the blockchain. Now, what is the blockchain? Blockchain is a decentralized ledger. And that decentralized ledger allows you to tokenize everything. And there are two ways in which you can tokenize it. The first is from centralized control, where we were controlled by a production house or by a single company or by a centralized body, to a completely decentralized setup where there are nodes spread across the globe and all these different people can be connected through a cryptocurrency, which is legit and accepted to people who are connected peer-to-peer on the internet. Now, there are two kinds of tokens. The first kind of token is a fungible token, which means that anything that can be traded and that has equal value can be traded between each other. So fungibility is your currency note or a gold coin, or in crypto terms also, something like a Bitcoin. These are all fungible assets. So if I am able to trade one rupee note with another rupee note and divide it and equally everybody can understand it, that makes it fungible. But then art or other things which are unique can become non-fungible. So any unique item, which is like a piece of art, or maybe this movie that I've put as an example of non-fungibility, where there is a shot of a unique camera. Now, this is very unique. This shot can never be recreated exactly like this at this time. So it may be redone, but because there is a timestamp to it, it becomes unique. And there is no other shot that can be taken on 19th of August at 10:25 p.m. with this lighting and this camera and this person. Because there is a timestamp of time in it, it becomes unique. So that's how you can imagine that all your films, all your music content, your pictures, all of these things are unique and they are non-fungible. And because these things are unique, what happens is that you can command and decide how much of it you want to sell and how you want to sell it. So there are ways in which you can do it on different platforms. But the idea is art or any other kind of unique thing, not just art. Even it can be even collectible, it can be in-game assets, it can be many different things, can be sold as an NFT online to anywhere across the world without any boundary of any jurisdiction. Now, what are the different attributes of NFTs? So one thing is that we need to always remember that each NFT has to be unique. And even if it is not unique, it has to be limited in number. It cannot be unlimited. When it comes to currency, there are times when it is unlimited. Like what we saw during COVID was that the governments printed money as much as they wanted. And that's the reason why we are seeing a downturn in the economy right now. We've seen markets crash because there was more supply than demand, and that led to increase in prices. But that's economics. Now, if we come back to the art world, if let's say I create the same song and have hundreds and millions of copies of the same and I'm selling it to all of these people, obviously they don't have unique rights to it and I won't be able to command a certain price. But at the same time, if I am able to limit the supply and build a community, that's very important because you want your art piece to have a secondary market, right? So from marketing point of view, anything that has a secondary market will always appreciate over time, right? So let me just give you a simple example. If you buy a Sony camera, then even if you use it for some time, there will be people who would want to buy it at a certain price after you've used it. So this is as far as a durable is concerned. But when it comes to art, over a period of time, if it is unique, it goes up in value. So the secondary market of art, whether it is Mona Lisa or Banksy or Basquiat or Picasso, always, because it's limited supply and there is more demand, and this demand and supply imbalance results in increase in price. The same thing can be applied to videos and movies and music and images. Now, what are the benefits of embracing NFTs? Like I said in the beginning as well, once you have a unique content piece, along with that, if you have built a community, you can reach out to different people across the world who you can decide that, okay, fine, there is a certain market for the same content piece in the form of just the image or just the music or the whole content piece or the whole film. So you can fractionalize your piece of art into different pieces and sell them accordingly as per the need of someone who's buying it from you. This was never possible in Web2 era. But thanks to Web3 and thanks to the tokenization that is possible now, we can easily do this using the blockchain technology.